Colin, how's it going?
Hey, it's doing good. I do actually have a question for you real quick.
Yeah.
I'm going to need a hype check from you, Curtis.
hmm
As we're recording this on Sunday, April 7th, Game of Thrones final season starts in a
Zero.
week. You're 100, did you say? Hype check?
Zero.
Oh,
Zero
just
point
zero.
zero.
Oh, just 0.0?
Yeah.
Oh. What is it? Maybe 0.01?
It's almost like negative. It's almost just negative for me.
Okay.
And
Well.
I think the negative comes from knowing that like everyone at work is going to be talking about it, and I'm not properly prepared.
Well, Curtis, the North remembers, and winter literally just ended.
Winter is ending,
Winter is ending.
as is the show apparently.
That's actually funny. Like like the big thing this year is like, oh, winter has come. It's finally here, and it's like, oh yeah, they're gonna start the season right just as winter ended.
Right.
Anyways,
Someone didn't think it through. I don't know.
yeah.
So Colin, here we are. It's 2 weeks later, beginning of April. So like I was thinking about this a few days ago. All of the big games are out. It's all the games come out at the end of March every year, and so now we're in no man's land, right?
We got a few more coming soon in April
you're
at
right.
least, but I would
right.
say big 75%, 80 of the early stuff is
I
out.
mean, and Sekiro is here, and it's kind of all that matters, right?
Yeah.
So we'll get into my Sekiro update later, because I think the last time we recorded, I had just started playing, right?
Yeah, I believe so,
Yeah.
because you had just gotten to the serpent thing, and we were
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about
So I
that.
was pretty early on then. So we'll get to the update later. But Colin, in the past 2 weeks, we've had some news drop. I think there's two. It's funny that the two things that we've chosen to talk about are both like pseudo conferences, sort of.
A little bit, yeah.
One is a direct style video. The other was something from what I understand.
Yeah, it was a little weird.
So first, let's talk about so PlayStation. They had announced this when we had recorded 2 weeks ago, but it had not happened. We recorded the day before it happened, and we didn't really speculate too much. I think I had said like I don't even know what to. I don't know. Like we talked about some things, some of which were there, and then some weren't. But so PlayStation State of Play, which is very clearly their attempt at a Nintendo Direct style series of announcements through like a video, pre-recorded video. This live streamed? It was, right?
Actually, I think it might have been. It's kind of, because like Nintendo Direct, they live stream theirs. They don't just upload the video at that time. They actually
they're both likely. I would imagine directs are pre-recorded, but
oh, for sure. Yeah, but they like live stream it on their YouTube channel and stuff like that.
I want to say State of Play was live streamed. I was at work at the time, so I was seeing like through Twitter some of the reaction, but I ended up watching it I think a couple nights later. And Colin, before we get into like the actual announcements itself, I wanted to talk about the actual presentation and our thoughts on it. I thought it was pretty bad. Just flatly, I thought it was pretty bad.
I wasn't too bad on it. I actually went back and watched, even just a little bit ago, a couple days ago. The like to dislike ratio on that video on YouTube is massive.
Yeah.
But, and I don't know, it's just because of like my own, like, I prefer Sony platforms. I don't know if it's just some kind of bias or that. Like, I feel like we've had Nintendo Directs that were pretty underwhelming.
Oh,
like
no,
this.
totally. And I don't want to say, not necessarily from a content perspective. I just think the way it was put together. I thought it was like a poor band's direct essentially, and I don't know that they understand what makes the direct format work. I don't know, and I don't know that I can properly describe it, but I like the way, like the pacing, I will say, was like the best part about it, and it was really good. It was just a very snappy.
It was very kind of quick. It ended up being about 20 minutes. The thing I probably had the biggest problem with was just the organization of it all.
Yeah.
And again, I think we'll get into that. But I don't know. I thought it was fine. I mean, a lot of the stuff that we had wasn't really brand new announcements, though I think there was a couple that I think were kind of at least a little noteworthy, but a lot of them were kind of like, oh, well, that's just a new trailer for that. And
so I guess it's tough when the thing that they're doing is so very clearly just like based off another thing that is pretty well liked generally.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to not draw comparisons. And so maybe there is a mistake in just comparing it back and forth between a direct and state of play. But that's kind of just inherently what I did as I watched it. I think the direct's something that they have that's really good, that no matter what the content is, there's a face to the direct. They have people there talking to you directly. And so there's part of it is like you get to kind of know the people there at Nintendo, for one. And then there's like not really any of that. State of Play was just like a series of videos, and then like interspersed between the video was like some voiceover where it was like, and up next, here's this. Yeah. And it's like, okay, it felt like I didn't like the like for example the No Man's Sky thing, right? Just picking one out there. It was like, and up next, the space procedural gets VR. Yeah. And then it rolls the trailer in which it announces the thing, and it's like, all right, maybe just cut that part, cut the up next part. Like Nintendo, like, and to be fair, Nintendo has been doing that, where it's like it shows you like the next few things. But I think maybe that's what makes some of the State of Play a little bit more egregious, is they're just straight up copying elements and doing it worse. Right. Because like, you know, the thing with one of the things that we talked about with when Nintendo Direct started doing the like, here's a preview of what's to come, like a few minutes off, is some of it, if it wasn't a new announcement, it would be like, oh, and Yoshi's Crafted World is coming out, whatever. But then under it would be like, new Switch game. And so the next 2 minutes you're like, oh man, what's that going to be? Like, here's a new thing. And so now it's just like, I equated it to like someone going, hang on just a second, and instead of like there being a pause of 10 seconds, it's like, hang on just a second, all right, so anyways, like there's is this really weirdly abrupt, like, here's this thing and here it is.
Yeah, and kind of you're talking about like the up next, and you're kind of like, oh, like what is that? I remember you and
like
I
movie
watching
trailers. Sorry to interrupt, but
or no worries.
It's movie trailers that play like a trailer preview before the trailer.
Yeah, those are that's kind of a weird
that
thing. And I was thinking about the Nintendo Direct we watched. I guess it would have been late 2017. That it had the little headline like, you know, like coming up or whatever, and it was like 2 iconic shooters on Nintendo Switch, and we're just like, is it Doom? Like, is it Wolfenstein? And it's like, whatever. Who knew what the earlier 3-4 announcements is? Like, because we were just talking about like, oh, what's that thing gonna be?
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I agree. I do appreciate the. It was a little more get in, get out, I guess, because I was still waiting for the like Sid Schumann PlayStation blog panel of people talking about stuff.
I guess it's like, you know, you have to straddle a line, because obviously we've also crapped on the like Sid Schumann and people sitting on a couch chatting about things. Yeah. And so like the one thing that State of Play I think did super well, of course, is just the pacing of it. Like it's so snappy, and part of that is because they literally just rolled a series of trailers without much in between.
And I think
which is cool.
Sony got like really kind of, I don't know, like commended for that. Like, what was it, E3 2016 maybe? Yeah. Like Sean Layden was only on stage like twice or 3 times or whatever. Much, yeah. And then like literally the entire show was just trailer after trailer after trailer after trailer.
And I think that works because like in that case, right, it's like not only was it trailer after trailer after trailer, it was like Horizon, brand new announcement, looked amazing. The Last Guardian, oh my god, like what, like, and then it was Dreams, and it was, you know,
Monster Hunter World was that year, and God of War was that year, Days Gone was that year.
It was a series of like new announcements, but also super exciting new announcements. Yeah, and so it just felt like whiplash almost of just, oh my god. Whereas something like this, it's a series of trailers which were like, all right, cool.
Yeah,
like it's like you put up the like PlayStation playlist on YouTube and just sat there for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think I like that they're trying it. I think if they're gonna ape that much from a direct, I would like to see more differences. I would like to see them try different things. And to be fair to them, like us and literally everybody else has been asking Microsoft and Sony to do a directs. So now that they're doing them, it's like, all right, like obviously there are going to be parts that are just identical.
Yeah, and I liked it a lot more than like I'd watched some of the Inside Xbox stuff before, and like there's sometimes like an hour and a half, and
I haven't watched any of those.
Sometimes they're like they've got some good announcements. Like even the last one they did was like shorter, it was maybe like 50 minutes or something. But it was like the first announcement was announcing Master Chief Collection for PC and Steam. And then basically everything else, it very much is like, here's a trailer or something we already knew about. And then it is like sit down and have a Microsoft representative talk to a representative from this developer that clearly knows that he can't answer these questions. And the Microsoft employee also knows that. And they're just kind of talking about, oh, it's just such a pleasure to work, all that kind of stuff. And it's just kind of wasting time. But I don't know. I thought this was fine. I don't know if they're going to go back to the drawing board or however that works, I guess, but I think they might have underestimated kind of the backlash, I guess, from this.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of things that like would work better, or and I don't know. I would have more. I would need more time to really think about it, to think of like what are things that they could do differently that would make them stand out compared to a direct.
I have one thing.
Okay.
Go ahead. I don't know about stand out as a direct, but at least make it more interesting. More shadow drops like a direct.
Yeah, that's true. The thing I was thinking of was like something that the direct or directs can do periodically that I think is really cool, is where they have like maybe it's a developer or maybe it's just someone from Nintendo who is on screen, introduces the game or the new thing, and then proceeds to like talk about it over like a trailer of gameplay. I think that can be interesting because sometimes they can explain mechanics that a trailer maybe doesn't do a great job of showing. But anyway, so let's get into the actual announcements. This started out with a Marvel's Iron Man for VR.
Crystal Dynamics' game.
Right.
Big, big announcement starting right off.
So this is developed by Camouflage, and they did Republic, which I never played any of, but it's like a stealth game that was on phones and PC.
So it was on phones, and I think it eventually came to just flat PS4.
Okay.
And what I mean by flat is, and then I think they I don't know if it came to PlayStation VR, but they made a VR version, maybe on like Oculus Go or something like that. Like there was a VR version they made, and that's like Ryan Payton's studio, and he helped do stuff with like Metal Gear Solid 4 and Halo 4.
Do we know where he started before Metal Gear Solid? Because that's what I know him from. I remember him being brought on to MGS4, and there was like a big thing about it. But
I don't know if it was like the 8-4 Play podcast I listened to a long time ago, but like he was on there and gave like a whole backstory.
Yeah.
And I just do not remember.
Because that's what I know
this
him
is years
from.
ago.
Like obviously, that's the first time I like heard of who he was, but it seemed like he had a history in like just game development, because I remember him being brought on and it being like a big deal for MGS4.
Yeah, he headed like he did stuff with the main game, but I think he was basically responsible for all the opening like television stuff at the very beginning. Like that was like all him.
Boy, that was something. So Iron Man VR, like saw a trailer of it. Apparently, I didn't read any of the previews, but some people got to play it. Some previews came out for it. I don't know. I guess it's neat, but my worry is like how much is there. Like, is it gonna just end up feeling kind of tech demo-y? Like, is it something that's 30 minutes long and you do it once and it's like, all right, cool? Or is it? It sounds like there's more to it. It sounds like it's actually gonna be a full length thing.
Yeah. So I was listening to Game Informer's podcast. They had a guy at GDC that was playing it, and I also thought by looking at the videos. Like at least even the trailer, it looked very on railsy. But apparently, like it's not.
Which apparently it's not. Yeah.
Yeah. Which like you kind of have like full degree of movement and stuff. And one of the things he talked about was the kind of thing where you're like taking the move controllers and like putting it behind your back to like speed up, like if Iron Man was like shooting his jets and stuff like that.
Okay.
Like it's just kind of cool stuff like that. PlayStation Blog has a little bit of extra write-up. Sid Schumann did like a write-up on the PlayStation Blog, the new redesigned PlayStation Blog, which I actually like, by the way. Side note. I don't know about you, but I don't know.
I haven't looked at it enough. I think it's probably better than what
Colin
it was.
and Curtis review the PlayStation blog.
You have to take a look at it.
Yeah, but yeah, they've got a little extra like little GIF things of flying around stuff. I think it actually looks pretty cool. Definitely watching the trailer, I
don't think the trailer
and...
really did a good job of selling it.
And it's not the first, and it's really hard to do it with a VR game. But I just remember that PSX where they showed Firewall 0 Hour, which is like a pretty big PSVR game for like the community, and it just looked terrible. They were showing this like off-screen footage, and it was just like, ugh, like I don't know.
I think with VR games, like a lot of times, like you just said, it can be really hard to convey what it actually is, and it's easy to be just kind of down on it without actually playing it, which can be problematic, obviously. But so yeah, I mean that's a cool announcement. I'll be curious to see what that game ends up being. It's apparently coming out this year. Next up was Crash Team Racing. So they announced that like you can do retro skins. You can use like the skins from the PS1 game.
Right. And they are exclusive to the PS4 version, as
of course
I can tell. So
yeah, it makes sense. So that's neat.
That was basically it. It's out June 21st. We already knew that, but
I don't know if I'm gonna play it. I don't know. Like it's cool, but I'm not chomping at the bit for it.
Too many things.
Similar to the next announcement, like No Man's Sky Beyond. This was like a recent update, or this update's coming out. I don't remember for
coming.
Sure.
They announced the update maybe like a week prior to this video. But they hadn't said anything about VR, but now this was just saying that, hey, this is also going to have VR.
So yeah, VR with No Man's Sky, but I thought, or maybe it was just a thing that everyone assumed it was going to happen, and so I just thought it was already announced.
Everybody wanted it to. It never did.
So this wasn't actually announced beforehand, right?
No, this was, it had never been announced.
I thought it had been, but I guess I'm wrong.
It is the full game, as they said, so.
That's cool.
And yeah, like I don't think you have to start over or whatever, it's just an update, you can jump right in.
Cool.
So just to kind of final thoughts, I had played No Man's Sky at launch. Of course, I played it because I couldn't cancel my collector's limited edition.
God, I remember that. Yeah.
That's so funny. So yeah, I played it at launch. Still didn't care for it. And then when the No Man's Sky Next update came out last year, I played it for a little bit more. I still couldn't really get into it. And I was thinking about selling it like on eBay. But now with the VR update, I'm probably going to jump back and try and play a little bit more. But
third time's the charm.
I know, right? Ugh.
So
I still have not gotten to the center of the universe, so I have no idea what that is. Apparently, it's very underwhelming, though.
Yeah, from what I read, it was.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Ready Set Heroes, which is a 4-player co-op dungeon crawler, developed by Robot Entertainment. They did Orcs Must Die, so this is coming out later this year. It's a cartoony kind of just. What is like isometric dungeon crawler kind of Diablo-like kind of thing.
And the other kind of big hook at it is it is a 4-player dungeon crawler, but it's I don't know if you basically just get matched in with like an 8-team thing. Okay. So it's 4v4, and then like they do their own kind of looting and leveling up or whatever, and then at the very end those 2 teams fight against each other kind of thing. I don't know.
I'm even less excited.
I know. Yeah. It kind of reminded me of a lot of like the Fat Princess Adventures, that game that came out.
I like that game actually. I beat it and enjoyed it for what it was. Yeah, it definitely feels familiar to Fat Princess Adventures. Mm-hmm. So next, I think you actually like predicted this announcement. Blood and Truth, which is an upcoming PSVR game. Coming out May 28th. It's $40. So this is based off the or like slightly based off one of the like demos that came out with PlayStation VR originally. I'm trying to remember the name of it.
Yeah, PlayStation VR Worlds. It was the London Heist was the heist, the mini game. So kind of like how the mission in Playroom VR spawned off to Astrobot Rescue Mission. This is like that kind of thing.
Yeah, and if the jumping quality is as much as it was for Astrobot, then
it had been a while since we've heard about this game.
Yeah, it has.
And I actually kind of enjoyed that new trailer. I thought it looked pretty interesting. I'm probably not a day one thing, but I'm certainly interested in maybe wanting to play it. It certainly looked better than like the original reveal trailers they had for it. So
yeah. So then next up we had just like a sizzle reel for upcoming PSVR games. We're gonna fly through this, Colin. I want you to give me a hype check for each of these games out of 10.
Okay.
All right. So Mini Mech Mayhem. This is a tabletop, just a tabletop board game.
Yeah. Give it a 2.
2. Okay. I'm like 6. Let's say 6. I like the concept.
Okay.
Jupiter and Mars. It's coming out April 22nd. This is that dolphin game. Which I think is the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, even though if I say like if I'm an 8, I'm probably still not gonna pick it up at launch. But I like these kind of style of games, so I'm gonna go with an 8.
I think I'm right there with you, but I'm gonna knock it down to a 7 just because like probably won't get it unless it comes out and people are like raving about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So next up was Falcon Age. It's coming out next week or this week, April 9th.
Yeah. Yep.
That's awesome. I didn't realize it was that soon. So it's you tagged it here as an exploration game with a falcon. That's about as much as I know about it as well. Other than I've seen a lot of people on Twitter like very excited about this.
Yeah, so this is by the developers. You remember that game called Dino Frontier on VR?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Same developer, I believe.
Okay.
And so yeah, I've seen some of the other longer trailers they've had. Like it's a falcon that's on you, like you can like fist bump the falcon and you do like little handshakes with it. There's like parts where just the animation on the falcon they have is very cool. I don't know too much else about it, but like there's a lot of the scenes where you're just like walking and the falcon's like literally like on your arm and stuff. I think it looks actually pretty cool. I'll go with a 7.
It does look cool. Yeah. I'll say an 8. I might look into it just to see what, depending on the price.
Yeah.
Let's see. Then Trover Saves the Universe. It's coming out May 31st. This is from the Rick and Morty team, I guess.
Squanch Games.
Squanch Games. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like the platformer, kind of action platformer, I guess.
Yeah, so it's in, I do believe, so also I was actually going to go back, so Falcon Age and at least Trover Saves the Universe, I believe, they are also playable in non-VR. So they're not only VR.
Cool.
I believe. Just kind of want to mention that. But yeah, I mean, like maybe like a 4 for Trover Saves the Universe. I think it'd be kind of fun, but that voice actor kind of gets to me after a while.
Honestly, the one thing that turns me off the game is like, is it going to be, and it probably will be, as just explicit.
Yeah. That like Accounting Plus game.
As Accounting Plus, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be the one thing that would turn me off. Otherwise, I think it looks interesting. It looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe 5. So Everybody's Golf, is this a just a free patch for Everybody's Golf VR, or is it its own thing?
I think it's its own standalone game. I don't think it's just an update. So that's what made me wonder if it's like the full game. They had another post on PlayStation blog that I just kind of skimming it right now. I can't necessarily see if it's the entire game, but the only thing I see is that they're going to, in addition of a variety of original courses, and it says with dinosaurs. Apparently, there's a practice ground, a first for the series, for players to practice their shots before hitting the course. Yeah, if you pre-order, you get some stuff. That's really almost all of it. So I don't know. We'll see. But I'm kind of excited if I can listen and go to an Owl City concert in VR.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
What more could you want?
I don't think you could really want much more than that.
I'll say I'm at like a 4. I don't know. Get it? That pun unintended on that one.
I don't get it, Curtis. What do you mean?
Anyways, so Table of Tales. This is coming out April 16th. It's an RTS game. I don't really remember much about any of this, and I watched the thing.
So they're basically kind of like, it's kind of almost seems like Mini Mech Mayhem, where like you're standing around a table and stuff happens. Whereas like Mini Mech Mayhem, you kind of like select what you want and then you watch what happens. It seems to me like this Table of Tales is more like, oh, I'm going to, with my move controller, reach over here and pick up this thing and move it to attack this one. Like it's very more like real-timey thing.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
And then Vacation Simulator was the last one. And this is from the Job Simulator team, but it's Vacation. Yeah. And that's coming out June 18th. That's cool. I don't know. I need to start playing more with my VR headset, so maybe this would be a good game to pick up. Yeah,
I need to too, but I don't know if just go on a tangent about it, but there's just like, you get home after work some days and you're like, I don't really want to put on this headset.
Yep.
And it's like sometimes my head kind of hurts and I'm already tired and I don't want to put this thing on. Like, I've already got it all hooked up. I just need to turn it on.
Mhm.
But like, I just really want to just lay back and play it flat screen. Yeah, you know what I'm
Yeah,
talking
sometimes you just want to sit back and play some Sekiro and really
Yeah.
relax.
about. Yeah, but you could play it in VR on a
You
flat
could.
screen. I don't know. Anyways.
So after that, it's just a few other things, and there's Observation, which is coming out May 21st. This is Devolver published. Did this stick out to you at all?
So a little bit, and I had heard a little bit maybe afterwards. So it takes place like on a space station, and it sounds like you're kind of guiding somebody, and it sounded very much actually like Republic, the camouflage game, where you're kind of you're not playing as the person you're seeing, you're like playing as the cameras, and then like telling them where to go.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
it
That's
felt
from my
very like
assumption.
found footage in some respects.
Yeah, other than that, I don't really. It was definitely the most like I don't really know what I just watched kind of thing of the entire thing, but I don't know.
It seems like it could be neat. The next one, just VR Five Nights at Freddy's, which is like the most.
Oh boy,
I have just could not care any.
get the kids, get the kids. And see, really, like when the first couple like Five Nights at Freddy's games came out, like it was kind of a hit, but like not as huge as like it blew up to be, where there's like figures and
it's
toys
weird.
and all that stuff. I was actually kind of riveted by some of that stuff, and then eventually it got like too much, and it was just like all the kids all in it, and anything you wanted to watch about it was all about. I don't know. I don't understand how that's a kid's thing, I guess, but
It's strange. I don't know either. It's just one of those things. Yeah, I don't know. I can't explain it.
Yeah.
But Concrete Genie. So this is this the first like new trailer we've gotten since its announcement? I'm trying to remember.
Honestly, probably, because I think the game got announced like maybe early 2017 or like 2016 at like a Paris Games Week. They showed it a little bit.
I can't remember if it was E3 or like PSX that it was.
They showed
announced.
it at PSX, that PSX that we all hated. When they did the Greg Miller, Sean Layden thing about the name change, they came out and they showed a little bit more Concrete Genie. And I don't think we had heard anything since.
So we got a pretty substantial trailer. It's coming out in the fall, and we'll have PSVR, which is kind of neat. But the trailer kind of, other than just more gameplay footage, like it starts to set kind of the stage for what this game is going to be and what the story is. I'm pretty excited for this. Like I feel like this has become like oh neat, like it's cool, like indie game coming to PS4 at some point. To it's starting to feel for me like this is going to be one of their bigger like indie games that it's coming out. I can't remember who's developing it. Just blanking on it right now.
This is Pixelopus, who did
That's
Entwined.
Yeah.
Game. So yeah, also on the PlayStation blog, see, I don't understand why they didn't include this, I guess, in the state of play, but they do have like some GIFs and kind of other hands-on screenshots of the VR mode in Concrete Genie. It's kind of like you're kind of like waving a wand around and like holding a book in your like other thing, and you can like select. So I guess that's the Wonder Book spiritual successor we all wanted.
Please.
But apparently there's only there's 2 PSVR modes in the game, and they have a little bit more info. But yeah, I like it. I still think the kid from the game looks like
Delson.
Yeah, I was like, he looks like the protagonist from Infamous.
It's a prequel to like not even just him. Like I think a lot of that game looks like Infamous.
Yeah.
Just a cartoony version.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was intentional or like if they were inspired by it or just
I
what.
don't know.
Yeah, it looks like a cartoony prequel almost to Infamous. Just, I mean, instead of superpowers, it's like Imagination Land. But
so
I don't know. Were you as impressed with this trailer as I was? Like, I feel like I was pretty excited for this game, and now I'm ready to go.
So I don't know. I honestly really feel like the only reason the state of play exists was to talk about Concrete Genie and Blood and Truth, because they weren't the big Days Gone, but I was thinking like they're not the big Death Stranding, Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us, and it was like, oh, but here's our other 2 titles we kind of should talk about.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm actually really curious what this game's gonna cost. I'm thinking about more like a $40 maybe.
Oh, 40 seems like it'd be high.
I know,
20 to 30.
Entwined was pretty low key. I think it was only like $10 or something.
10 or 15, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm trying to remember. Is this their second game or third?
I think this is their second. I don't think they've released anything. I think with Pixel Opus, I think it sounded to me like they did a kind of That Game Company thing where they did like a 3-game deal.
They did Entwined, and suddenly it was like, oh.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. That game is... I tried playing that game. Mm-hmm. Hey, your game's kind of cool until you have to be precise, and then when you're trying to be precise, the frame rate starts to drop. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not... It's not great.
Cool.
But anyways.
Well, we do have 2 other things. So Days Gone is a new trailer for that. That's coming out later in the month. Mm-hmm.
I liked it.
We'll get to your thoughts in a second, but okay. So like when this game was announced, I felt like the reception was kind of lukewarm. Me personally, I felt like, okay, maybe what they showed wasn't the best, but like considering some of the words that they're not necessarily the stuff they were showing, but the words they were saying. So the stuff about how you'd have so many freakers on screen at once, or there was more of a sandbox open world element to it than what we're actually seeing. A lot of that was like, okay, that's exciting. There's a lot of potential. Maybe this game just needs a couple showings, and then we'll start to understand it. And so I've been waiting for that moment where Days Gone suddenly becomes like this thing that everyone's hyped about. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that hasn't happened. I'm excited for it, and I'm probably gonna pick it up when it comes out, and I'm legitimately like pretty pumped for it and excited to see how it turns out. But I don't know, what do you think?
So I mean, we had the reveal. We've had 2 E3 gameplay demos of this game. We've had Game Informer did their cover story, and they had like the first hour of the game or like hour of gameplay.
Yeah, and it was pretty early on too.
Nothing had ever really like gotten me like even interested at all. But the trailer before this one, that was like maybe a couple months ago, and now this one, like I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. And the thing I love about, and I think it was maybe you know, again, it's just the editing for the cutscenes and stuff like that, but I feel like they're really trying to hammer home like that kind of personal tale stuff. Like it's the kind of quality of writing and narrative and story driven gameplay that I love about Sony first party games. And I feel like this really started to kind of like hammer that home a little bit. I thought the kind of performances, I thought the writing was really good also.
Okay.
And it's kind of the thing, you know, you can easily kind of compare it to The Last of Us, but again, you know, I feel like the Walking Dead, like maybe even the comics or TV show, whatever, started this kind of thing where, yeah, it's a zombie apocalypse and it's a zombie whatever outbreaker, but like that's not the point. Like the point is the relationship between these people and like how that evolves. Like, yeah, there's zombies that show up, but that's not the point, to kill the zombies. And so like it's just that kind of those human reactions and relationships that it's starting to grab me. I don't know if I'm still gonna buy it yet, but it's one of those Sony games that I think I would probably pick up in a couple of years, maybe even. I don't know yet. But like, you know, it's like I actually hadn't played Horizon Zero Dawn, but on Black Friday this last year I bought the Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition for $10.
Nice. Now, have you opened it?
I have opened it. I have not played it yet, but Collin, some point I'm getting there.
It's very good. It's one of my favorite PS4 games. Period.
Yeah. I'm sure I'll like it. But
yeah, probably in top 10.
Yeah, and it was really. At least. I don't remember who I was talking to, but there was some developer doing discussions. I almost want to say it was like Saber Interactive. They're actually doing the World War Z game, but I guess like they had talked about a while ago that they had pitched a Days Gone multiplayer mode to Sony.
Oh, okay.
But then like Sony turned it down, so it's like I still like that they're trying to stay with the single player focused thing.
Right. But I don't know. Like to me, I think the thing I'm most interested in is, you know, zombies, freakers, or whatever. They were saying things that seemed relatively unique to zombie games, just the amount of sandbox opportunities, especially in a game that seems pretty story focused. I'm curious to see how all that stuff pans out. So I guess we'll find out in a few weeks. Yeah. And then lastly, they just had kind of an update trailer for Mortal Kombat 11, which is also coming out later in the month. Had some new characters announced. I don't know, like it's cool. I anticipate that game will be quite good, but I'm not really gonna play it, I don't think.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'll probably want to rent it, play through the single player mode that they have.
I'll watch some people playing through the story or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I like the I ended up actually playing Mortal Kombat XL, like the complete edition. It was $5 on a PlayStation sale at one point on PSN. So I just downloaded that and played through the story mode. Didn't really care for it. I really liked kind of Mortal Kombat 9's story mode. But the big thing with Mortal Kombat 11 is very like the old generation versus the new. So there's like an old and new Johnny Cage, like where it's like old, seems like mid-40s Johnny Cage, like fighting against like young, like early 20s Johnny Cage. So I think some of that kind of, like, you can clearly see like the older Johnny Cage is very more reserved. He's wearing a little bit more normal clothes, while the young one's got like all these like weird sunglasses and bright colored jackets on. I like that kind of dynamic, but
sure. There was a good Game Informer. They it's their cover for I think this month. And they always do their rapid fire questions.
Yeah, I watched that.
So they had a good one with Ed Boon, which was very entertaining. So I would recommend going and watching that if you haven't. So that was State of Play. The only other thing we really have here for news is so Borderlands 3 got announced finally. Yeah. Like the thing that it's one of those weird games where like everyone knew it was coming for years. We were just kind of sitting around.
It was almost like Mortal Kombat 11. Like it
almost.
Been, like this supposed to be announced like, you know, last E3 is usually when they announce these new Mortal Kombat games, and it just took forever, and now it's finally coming.
Yep. So Borderlands 3, okay. I guess I don't know. The game itself, like they put out a trailer. It's coming out September 13th. It's exclusive for 6 months to the Epic Game Store on PC.
Maybe not even 6 months,
maybe longer.
Might be a year. I know. Well, okay. I don't know about Borderlands 3 specifically, but a lot of like other games like Metro and Metro Exodus and some others were a 1 year.
Maybe it was some other game. I don't know. I don't know where the 6 months came from. Regardless, on PC it'll be exclusive to the Epic Game Store, which that's a whole other thing. I don't really feel like talking about it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that I really have an opinion on it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, for sure.
But I did watch the trailer. And I don't know, like that series is so weird because I was really excited for the first Borderlands, got it the day it came out, enjoyed it quite a bit, like final boss and ending aside, like really liked the first Borderlands. Never played 2, didn't play any pre-sequel, Tales from Borderlands, like different, you know, that's a whole other thing, but I like that. And Borderlands 3, I don't know, the trailer, I watched that trailer and my feelings from it was, Yep, looks like Borderlands to me.
So I haven't heard this term until recently, and I guess it's been a genre, but have you ever heard the term looter shooter?
I've started to hear about it recently.
Yeah, so like everything from the Destinies to, you know, Anthems to Divisions to Fallout 76, I feel like the persistent kind of online games where you just do that, and I feel like they've been touting like they're re-releasing Borderlands 1 on PS4, and it was something like the original looter shooter returns, and I'm like, oh,
so
no.
The thing with Borderlands 3, right, is like it can be one of two things. Is it just the kind of the same like kind of setup and functionality of 1 and 2, where it's, you know, it's 4-player co-op potentially, and you run through the story and whatever? Or like if it comes out like that, it just kind of feels like it's going to be behind. So I mean, one thing I'm curious about with Borderlands 3 is how much of the kind of Destiny, Anthem, Division DNA is there going to be in this game? As far as just like those games are MMO-ish and everything but name. Borderlands 3 seems like a game that is prime to become to kind of dig into that genre a bit, maybe advance it in some ways. So that like I'm not that excited for that game, and just not. They can always convince me in the next few months, but I'm more curious to see what this game ends up being, because it's been so long. Because in the time since Borderlands 2 to now, we've had Destiny come out, Destiny 1 and 2. We've had The Division 1 and 2 come out. We've had Anthem come out. We've had this almost an extension of the genre that Borderlands was operating in, or just a new genre itself kind of born in some respects. And so I'm curious to see now, like, now that this game's coming out, what is it going to do differently? What's it going to ape from those games? Like, how is that going to turn out? I know that, at least from some of the things I've been reading, I don't know if these are still rumors or not, but it sounds like there's going to be multiple planets in this game.
Yeah, like so.
Which could be really interesting, and definitely sounds like it's maybe heading more into that direction of like a Destiny kind of game.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm super interested to see how it turns out. I think weirdly Borderlands 3 might have a bit of an uphill climb ahead of itself. I think that like with the Epic Game Store stuff, that's probably not the best way to start your marketing campaign for this game. It seems like a lot of people hate that stuff right now.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's, again, not to get too much into it, but it's all like, it's really sounds like a lot of it's the profit margin sharing stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So regardless, like, so that was announced, but really quick, we don't have to spend too much time on it. Collin, you actually watched this panel they had at PAX East where they announced Borderlands 3 and like a bunch of like Borderlands related remasters and some other things. We don't have to get into the other announcements, but can you walk me through? Because I've heard that there was some technical issues.
So it sounded, so from my recollection, they were gonna originally talk about Borderlands stuff, but they originally started with Gearbox publishing stuff. They eventually get all the way to the last two announcements, which were the Borderlands Game of the Year and then Borderlands 3. So they originally going to try to show the trailer for Borderlands Game of the Year, and it's just not working at all.
Okay.
And so eventually they just kind of had to move on. And then when they tried to show the Borderlands 3 announcement trailer, that also didn't work. Like, it went like 5 seconds and didn't work. And so like I listened, like, I guess I was like, yeah, I guess it's true. Technically Borderlands 3 was announced by Randy Pitchford turning around in his jacket showing the number 3. Like, that was technically how it was announced. Because they kind of tried to
like
keep
3
going.
etched onto the back of his jacket.
Yes, it was like on the back of his jacket.
All right.
And so like, yeah, they had tried like, okay, I think we got it fixed, and like they're trying to do this, and then eventually, like, you know, while they're trying to fix it, Randy Pitchford's just trying to do like some stand-up comedy stuff. And
oh, that sounds awful.
There was at one point where he made some comment about like, I wish we could have brought our own people or something like that, because I guess it was the PAX enforcers like trying to help do this. And so then like the crowd started like to turn on him a little bit, like throwing the PAX people under the bus.
Well, I mean, he's not the most well-liked figure in the game industry at the moment.
So what ended up happening is, from what I heard, is they were running this laptop on a stream, on the PAX stream, that like only was doing like 720p video, but of course Gearbox uploaded like their 4K video in the highest resolution to try and show this thing.
Yeah.
So like uploading their 4K video to this 720p stream just was not gonna work out very well.
Yeah.
I guess.
It sounded like it was pretty choppy as well when it was.
Yeah,
running,
it was not.
like...
It was not great. It was.
Yikes.
I don't think you're gonna see Epic do another panel like this with they can't do their own people and the way they wanted to do it, because it seemed like,
or not Epic, but Gearbox.
Did I say Epic? Sorry,
yeah.
Gearbox. Sorry, I was reading the Epic's game store, I guess. Yeah, Gearbox. Because it very much seemed like, I guess Gearbox wanted to have their own people do stuff. Like, oh, okay, we're gonna do this, but it was like, nope, you can't, because this is PAX and we have to do the things, you know. And it just did not work out very well. There was like a magic trick that Randy Pitchford did, because I guess he likes magic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He did a thing with like announcing the Borderlands card game or something like that.
Oh, that sounds like the worst.
Where he like had some like unopened pack and somebody wrote their name on it, and this one other person opened this brand new unopened pack and then pulled out one of these cards, and it had the persons who wrote this guy's name on it or something like that kind of stuff was going on. And you know, it was very much the kind of things where, okay, we're showing a trailer and then, oh, it doesn't work, and then, oh wait, you still hear Randy Pitchford talking because they didn't mute his mic. So Randy Pitchford is like, okay, well, when's this gonna start? When's this gonna start? And of course, like, you're hearing that like on the stream because they didn't mute his microphone.
Yikes.
So like him like trying to figure stuff out, also being on. Yeah, it was really kind of rough. But I guess eventually they got it announced and they got They got their trailer online. So
what do you think of Borderlands 3? Where are you at on this game? Any excitement?
I'm excited for the people who are excited, I guess.
Great.
I've never enjoyed really Borderlands. I tried Borderlands 1 originally, didn't really like it because I like to play games single player and you can't get very far in a game like that without playing in co-op.
I played the entirety of the first game in single player.
Oh, okay.
And enjoyed it for what it's worth. But I also I was a really big fan of the way it looked at the time. So I don't know. The gameplay they had in this trailer, I was like, yep, all right.
I think the claptrap thing is funny for like a couple of minutes.
Sure.
I played Tales from the Borderlands, which was the Telltale game. I really liked that.
Yeah.
I thought that was actually really cool. But other than that, I really have never had any desire to play Borderlands. But I think it's so weird that they're releasing Borderlands Game of the Year edition, like the original one, when the Handsome Collection was out, and it's already got 2 in the pre-sequel. So now they're re-releasing the more inferior game with not the improvements in gameplay and stuff.
Yeah,
and
it's weird.
It's almost like it's like it just felt like the Arkham Origins collection or the Arkham collection that didn't have Arkham Origins made by the other team. And it's like now they're coming back later and be like, oh yeah, no, this is such a great game. We
forgot about this one. Yep.
Yeah, it's really kind of weird. But yeah, I don't really care. I'm sure we're gonna hear more. I'm sure it's gonna be a Game Informer cover at some point. But
I'm sure
that, I don't
probably
really
July.
Care. Probably, yeah.
Maybe June. I could see it being like the E3 month cover or something.
Yeah, probably. And you can probably see this at the Xbox press conference. Might be the next time we see it. I don't know.
Sure. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some stuff we've been playing. How does that sound?
Let's do that.
Collin, I've been playing some good video games. As I was typing up my list today, I was like, oh yeah, the past 2 weeks have been pretty good to me.
Good.
But first I want to start out. So Collin, I watched on Netflix, they uploaded this anthology of 18 animated shorts, and it's called Love, Death, and Robots. So I basically binged the entire thing yesterday. I've been kind of curious about it. I've heard a little bit about it, so been wanting to watch it. So I finally just got around to it yesterday, and Collin, it's pretty good. There's some pretty high highs, some low lows kind of things. It's, I think, mostly good. But there's definitely some things that I could have done without. But so it's 18 different shorts. There's a couple that are as short as 6 minutes long, but the majority are anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, or 10 to 16. And they range from a wide swath of genres, of different kinds of stories, of different kinds of animations. There's probably 4, maybe 5, off the top of my head that kind of look like they were just straight up a CG opening to a Blizzard game. Or to a BioWare game or something.
Yeah.
Now that there aren't and granted they're longer than maybe a 2 to 3 minute CG opening would be, but there's one where it's I think you're following, Soviet soldiers and they're fighting off these mutant alien invaders, and it's visually unreal how amazing it looks. But so much of it is definitely it gives you that feeling or that vibe of watching a CG opening to a video game, in the vein of a BioWare or not BioWare, but a Blizzard or something like that. So definitely a handful of those that have that vibe. Of those, one of the ones that stuck out to me is so Netflix has been, I guess, changing the order of the episodes for certain people, experimenting with that. So the first episode for me was this one where kind of futuristic, cyberpunk-ish a little bit, but it was basically these underground monster, almost like robot fighting, just with these crazy monsters. And so the contestants, they would sit down and they would kind of like mind jack into controlling the monster, basically. And they were like, fighting in this pit arena underground, people all like a huge crowd around them cheering. That was really cool. Had a pretty cool twist at the end. Like the setup for it is like this guy who seems to be running the thing kind of asks one of the contestants to throw the match. She refuses. Things kind of go from there. So that's really cool. That's definitely one of the ones I would recommend watching.
This sounds very like, is it very like Twilight Zone-y? Like Dark Mirror, I guess I'd heard about.
It's very Black Mirror. A lot of it is definitely like feels kind of Black Mirror-ish. Mm-hmm. I was even thinking about it after watching all of it. So there's definitely some, I don't know if, I was thinking like cosmic horror, but I think weird fiction, which is like another kind of name for that genre. I think that fits into some of it. There was another one. This is more, I guess, cartoony, like cel-shaded animation style. Maybe closer to like a Telltale almost. Just much of that better visuals. But it was basically like took place on a farm, and all the farmers in that area had these crazy mechs that they controlled, and like aliens would be invading, and it was straight up like tower defense almost. But again, it looked like a CG opening to a tower defense game, essentially. It just a little bit longer, so enough that there was a time for a short story to be told. There was one in particular called The Witness, which is basically a girl witnesses a murder and is, chased through the city by the person that she believes she saw murder somebody. But this one in particular, I don't know that I necessarily liked it that much. I think the ending was kind of cool, so I appreciated the ending. But the girl who sees it, her day job is like a stripper basically, and so a lot of this is just very like blatant nudity that I'm kind of like, does this need to be here? Like, this feels kind of weird.
Yeah.
Which actually is maybe a problem for a lot of these episodes, where there's just a lot of like sexual violence or just a lot of nudity where you're just sitting there like, this is really like, I don't know, like it's violent and there's some language used in it, so it's very much something that is more adult themed. But it's animated, and it's animated, which is fine. Like, it can be very gory or very bloody and violent in certain respects, depending on which one you're watching. But some of the nudity, and even some of the language in some respects, it just felt like it was there just for the sake of being there, when I didn't really feel like it needed to be.
Sure.
Not all of it. Some of it was like totally fine. I think what the story was.
So let me tell you about Game of Thrones.
Yeah, right. But the thing about The Witness, really quick, is the animation style. Have you seen Into the Spider-Verse?
I have.
Okay, so there were some elements of that, but it was much more photorealistic in some respects. There was like I've read up on it after the fact, and the people who made that short claimed that it was completely like hand animated. And everything, which is insane to me. Like, they were for the majority of this short, I was watching it just in awe and just thinking, like, wondering how they did it. Part of me was convinced that they like shot live action footage and then overlaid like animated effects onto it. But apparently, like, no, apparently it's all animated, which is insane. Like, it looks so good. I don't know what I would recommend almost all of them I can recommend. There's a really good short where it's like the one animated short that uses live action footage. And so it's like these two people who move into an apartment, and they open up the freezer that was left in the apartment, and inside the freezer is just like a full-on civilization just thriving, and it's like being played in fast forward, so they're watching it move from different ages, so like that was super cool. A couple other standouts. There's one where it's much more like, it's like a 2D cartoon animation style, but the premise is that it's this app that you can use, and basically within the app you can pick out points in history where different things could happen, and it would show you all the different branching paths. So in this specific animated feature, it's like, all right, what if Hitler died? in like 6 different scenarios, what would happen?
Yeah.
So it's much more comedic, but it's pretty funny. And then the other one that stood out, one of the other ones that stood out to me was there's one called, I think, Three Robots is the name. And so it's a post-apocalyptic world, and you have 3 different robots who are like tourists. And so they're touring like different parts of the world, finding different things, and just kind of like marveling or guessing what they were used for. So one of the examples is they're like in a gymnasium, and they find a basketball, and they're like, oh, it's the entertainment sphere. One of the robots is like, what do they use it for? And they're like, oh, I don't know. They bounced it, and like sometimes they would hit it with a stick. Like I don't. That one was really funny, and also like had a pretty good and funny twist at the end. But the reason I bring this up is because, with a few exceptions, of like 3 or 4 that were much more story focused and not as much like violence. Like the Three Robots one it's a really just good short story. It was really funny and well animated. A lot of them are very video gamey, and so it's something that I think you might enjoy some of them. Specifically, like again, it's I think the Secret War is the one with like the Soviet soldiers fighting like alien invasion stuff. There's one called Shapeshifters, and so it's actually two people in like the Afghanistan war, and they're also lycanthropes, right? Like they can transform, and so they're like people that are used as like they can go out at night and stealth, and so there's some stuff with that. There, the first one I mentioned, where it's like underground monster fights, is very heavy like Dishonored vibes from that. There's another one. It's space themed, but it felt like something out of a Mass Effect game almost. So a lot of it's very gamey. I'm curious. I think like Blur is actually one of the studios that worked on a few episodes.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's the name I was trying to remember.
Yeah.
Who do stuff like that.
So you can definitely see some of the heritage there. But I think it's really interesting, and I'm curious to see if they do more of it. I'm also curious to see if this might be a kind of thing that Netflix looks at the reaction to certain shorts and decides, hey, is this something we'd like to turn into something like more, like maybe a series or something. There's a short where it's these 4 like bounty hunters or something, and they're like planning a heist on a train. And it tells like a full complete story, but it's totally something that you look at and go, this could be a series. Like this could be something that is longer and has more of like more story arcs and different things you can go through. And I felt that way about a handful of them at least. So I thought it was really cool. It would take about, I don't know, like probably about 3 hours to watch all of it. But it's well worth it, I think.
Okay, cool.
Also, just for the animation, like really, really good animation in it. Jaw-dropping in some respects. So anyways, I got some quick updates on some things.
Yeah.
So I finished Devil May Cry 5 yesterday. And it is quite good. It is a very good video game.
Is it is there like, of course no spoilers, is there some like tease at the end or something for something in the future? Like, does it set up like more Devil May Cry?
I mean, I think there will always be room for more Devil May Cry.
Yeah, you're probably right.
The way this ends, there are characters like in very specific situations, and I think I'm curious to see where they would go. One of the things I was thinking of as I was watching the ending play out was, I wonder what this would mean for a DMC6. Like, I wonder what the next step for Devil May Cry would look like, because and some well, I don't know. Yeah, like, it's not like it's over for these characters. It's not like they're done doing whatever it is they do, fighting demons like that. It's one of those things where, like, I think the story premise in and of itself lends itself to be something where it's like there will always be demons to fight.
Always be a lighthouse. Always be a demon.
You'll always be hunting demons. Yeah. But the place that Dante and Virgil are in at the end of this game, like, it's pretty cool and it's exciting, and I think.
So Virgil is in the game.
I mean, yeah, spoilers. major character in series is,
I know
is in
that's
this
what
game.
I was gonna say. I was like, yeah.
But the final fights are really cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a blast with it. I haven't played any of the Bloody Palace yet, which is a new update that just came out recently. I'll probably get to that.
Is that like challenge rooms?
It's like, yeah, challenge rooms. But it's just like a series of challenge rooms.
Yeah.
See how far you get, how high your score can be, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's good though, and yeah, it's very good.
Good. Sekiro, almost finished. It says.
Yes. So So Sekiro. Last time we talked about it, I was pretty early on. Past 2 weeks, I've played a whole lot of Sekiro. I think I'm about 30 hours in. Or around that. So, yeah. I am on the final boss right now. For context, we mentioned before, there are 4 endings. I'm currently... So, they have, like, specific names. And I don't know if there's, like... There's one that's very clearly, like... I guess you would consider the bad ending, from what I understand. Not that I've seen it. But I don't know if they're like of the other 3. I don't know if there's one that you would consider a true ending.
Okay.
They're just different from what I understand. And again, I haven't seen any of them, so I could be wrong in that respect. But the one I'm on now has required a little bit more legwork. There's like an optional boss you have to fight that was pretty difficult that I beat a few hours ago. So I'm all set. Like if I can beat the final boss, like I'll trigger the I guess the 3rd ending. I'm trying to remember. I think it's called the purification ending. As one of the 4. So, and then there's one after that requires a bit more legwork. So I think that's probably what you would classify as the true ending, just because it requires the most work.
Yeah.
But I anticipate I'll probably just play through the game multiple times to get each ending. Yeah, like, okay, so one thing I wanted to, that I, as far as things I didn't say last week, which I said a good amount, or 2 weeks ago, which I said a good amount, the game is still excellent. It's one of the best things that From Software has made. I don't know how it'll rank amongst the other games, like Bloodborne's probably my favorite, but it's up there, and it's different enough that's like, it feels really refreshing. It's fantastic, like, through and through. I can't really think of any one spot in this game that I would consider a weak spot. Like, all of it is just really, really good and high quality. One thing I messaged you about this, but I just want to walk you through one moment of this game, and we can put like timestamps for spoilers.
Okay.
It's related to a specific boss. So if you want to be like super blind on this, or you haven't fought the Guardian Ape, maybe skip ahead a little bit. But it's something that I've seen people sharing on Twitter and elsewhere a lot, so I think the cat's kind of out of the bag on this one. But Collin, there's a boss called the Guardian Ape. It's just this giant ape that's like very aggressive. It's a relatively difficult fight. I think it's entirely manageable.
Is he like King Kong? It's
just a very large ape that you fight, like, as you're going down into the sunken valley. As you start going down, like, you're fighting like kind of smaller, like, just chimpanzees and stuff, and then eventually, like, you just drop down into this huge area, and it's just this huge ape. One thing that's really cool about the arena is, so it's just this huge open area. You're like just maybe like a foot of water, which is kind of neat. But there's a lot of just bare trees. Just long, thin trees, like not really many branches or no leaves or anything. But what's really cool about that is you can grapple onto those. And so you can just like constantly grapple and fly around this arena, which is kind of neat. Super not required for this boss. But, so it's a gorilla, and it has, if you are observant, you'll notice that there is a giant like katana just sticking through, this gorilla, like kind of between its neck and its shoulder. Okay. So as you're fighting it, you're whittling the health down. You're getting the poise break bar, and once it fills up, you can do the death blow, right? And this particular boss only has one death blow required to kill it. So you do the death blow, right? And when you do it, you jump onto the back of this gorilla. You grab the handle of the katana that's stuck inside of it, and you just like saw the gorilla's head off, just completely. So the gorilla falls down, the head falls down next to it. The instead of like, all the Souls game in Bloodborne, when you beat a boss, it has like a specific tagline that shows up on the screen. In this game, it's Shinobi Executed or something like that, or Shinobi Vanquished, or one of those two things. And so that screen, that text pops, but no trophy pops up, and so you're kind of standing there. And about 10 seconds, maybe 5 to 10 seconds later, the gorilla starts moving again. And it grabs the sword in one hand and it grabs its head in the other. And it gets up and you enter phase 2 of the fight.
So is it a thing that's like you kill it and it's like, well, I guess I'm done with that. Like time to leave, and you're trying to like find the way out.
It's one of the great fake outs that there's definitely been like a small handful of fake outs in past Souls games or Bloodborne. This is probably one of my favorite things that they've ever done. Because it's so funny. Especially because it's a fight that, again, it's not too terribly difficult, but it's something that you're probably going to you're going to run up against, and it's probably going to take you at least a handful of tries to get him down. Like, it's a tough fight. And so, at least that first phase, right? Like, and the second phase really isn't that bad. I actually think the first phase is probably harder. Or at least that's the one that I've struggled with more, and I don't quite have down in the way that I have the second phase down. But it's such a funny, just like, F you that the game pulls for the player. Like, that it's just like, you're not done. Like, this isn't over. It's one of my favorite moments from the game. Just period. Other than that, like, last night I was going through the final area of the game, which I won't really speak about too much. It's pretty cool. I think just visually, it's a really interesting looking area. Kind of different, I think, in some respects from the, like, final area of other From Software games like this. And yeah, so I'm on the final boss now. It's a 4-phase fight. Okay. I have gotten to phase 3 once. Or no, yeah, once. Phase 2 is ripping me pretty bad. It's rough. But
is he tougher than Rom in? Oh yeah, is it Rom from Bloodborne, the spider guy?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I just remember you always.
Yeah, it's rough. I will say there is so there are some, like, Rom, or I don't know if Rom is necessarily considered a gimmick fight. But the Souls games and Bloodborne, they usually have, like, maybe one gimmick fight. And it's usually one that people don't like that much. There's one in this game that I fought last night that I actually thought was pretty cool. And probably one of the better versions of the, like, gimmick puzzle fight kind of thing. I think there's a couple, actually. There's a couple in this game that I would put in that category. There's one related to monkeys that I think is actually really interesting. I'm curious how it'll play on multiple playthroughs. Like, I'm curious if it'll just become kind of an annoyance. But the first time fighting, it's called the folded screen monkeys. I actually think is really interesting and such, like, a clever mechanic for a boss fight. Like, I was super into it.
Folded screen monkeys?
Folded screen monkeys, yeah. So they're on, like, a...
This sounds like a barrel of monkeys kind of thing.
Yeah, so basically, like, there's a red, a green, and I think it's yellow monkey. There's so you see these, like, folded screens basically, and these like tall trying to think of the best way to describe them other than just calling them folded screens, but it's like there's like a kind of Asian style, imagery, and it's just like pictures of drawings of monkeys, and they're all different colors, but they're in different poses. And so again, this is, spoiler for this boss fight if you haven't seen it yet. But one monkey is like has its hands over its ears. One monkey has its hands over its mouth. It's the monkey. It's the I see no evil, hear no evil kind of poses, right? And then there's on the fourth screen, it's blank, and so there's actually an NPC in the area that you can talk to because it's like its own sectioned off area you kind of teleport to, and he basically fills you in that, like, hey, this monkey, if it sees you, it's gonna run. This monkey, if it hears you, it's gonna run. This monkey, if it I don't remember the other one, but like basically it's like, yeah, this monkey has really great hearing, but it can't see very well.
Yeah.
And so this is, Sekiro is a game that there's a lot of stealth elements to it, intentionally so. And so it's this boss fight where you have to be stealthy, but also the layout of where the fight takes place is there's like specific rooms. So you run into one room and it's like this giant waterfall inside the interior. And so it's like, oh, okay, if I can lure the monkey into this area, or like the one that specifically has great hearing, then it won't be able to hear me, so then I can sneak up on it. Or this one, it's like completely pitch black. So if the monkey that can see very well is lured into this area, then I can sneak up on it. So it's that kind of thing. It's really interesting. It's like a really cool fight, and then there's another element to it which I won't say anything about, but I thought it was a really cool fight. And there's another one that I did last night, not as puzzly, but again kind of a gimmicky fight, if you want to call it that I thought was really cool. And it kind of involved a lot of using your grapple hook to grapple towards trees, and like there's a move you can do in this game where if you're in midair and you get struck by lightning, if you hit the R1, which is your attack button, before you hit the ground, you channel the lightning into your katana, and you can swing it forward and fire the lightning back
Heck
at
yeah,
an enemy. It's a super cool move. It's very hard to pull off. Except
Breath of the Wild should have something like that.
This boss fight, it's much easier to pull off for a specific reason. The other fights in the game that you need to pull that move off, much more difficult, but it's super cool, very slick, looks really cool. So yeah, love the game, obviously. Cool. I'll probably have it beat. Like I don't know if I'll beat it tonight, but I imagine I'll beat it this week.
You got 2 weeks.
Yeah. And I probably won't have much more to add from now, like at this point. Like maybe I'll have comments on the endings, but yeah, we'll see. So other than that,
okay.
Since we recorded, and a lot of these are things I can touch on pretty briefly. So I picked up Baba Is You.
Yeah.
The day after we recorded. Collin, that game is excellent.
I've been seeing some things on Twitter about...
That is a top tier video game. So I described it briefly on last episode, but yeah, it's a puzzle game where you control the rules, essentially. Every level, the rules are displayed within the level. So, for instance, you can enter a level and it will say Baba is you, which means that Baba, which is like the dog, cat-looking character, that is you. That is who you control. It'll say wall is stop, which means walls are solid. You can't walk through the wall. It'll say flag is goal, or flag is finish, or whatever, or flag is win, sorry, which means, hey, if I touch the flag, I win. And so that's like the very, very basic of it. And so it's a matter of like in that level, it would be you have to figure out how to get to the flag, whether that means pushing boxes or walking around, doing whatever you need to do, basically. Now, as you progress, it introduces different types of objects. So it might introduce doors and keys. So you have to like push a key to a door, or you have to change it to where it says key is you, and then you control the key and enter the, and unlock the door. There's a lot of different mechanics it's introducing slowly. I think a couple worlds in. I think there's like 200 puzzles total. I've probably done about 20, maybe 30. I anticipate that this is a game that I will be playing for a long time. It's gotten to the point where it's really hard already, and I'm like, I'll be looking at puzzles for a good 10 minutes, just like completely dumbfounded, and then it will hit me.
Have you used the guide yet?
No.
Okay, no shame if you have.
I will probably have to. I'm trying not to. I've been playing it on the bus mostly, which works because it's a game that if you know how to beat a level, you can do it in like 30 seconds.
Yeah,
it lends itself well to a handheld kind of play. There has been some levels I think I've looked up videos to see alternate ways to solve it, because it definitely appears like some levels you can solve in totally different ways, which is kind of cool. So it's fun to see like different ways that other people have solved a level. That's always interesting. But yeah, I'm anticipating that Baba Is You is going to be something that I'll be playing off and on for like a good few months until I beat it. It's so good. It'll probably end up being one of my favorite games of the year, I imagine, especially once I end up beating it. But early on, I'm very, very impressed with it so far.
And who's the developer of this? Is this somebody we know? Or
I don't remember. I don't remember the name of them. No, I think it's like a one-person team.
Okay.
I just don't remember the name of the developer.
Okay.
So anyways, and that is out on Switch and PC, and I think elsewhere. I don't know if it's just a Switch and PC thing at the moment, but I would highly recommend it. I also picked up Yoshi's Crafted World. And this is Yep.
Yep. Is that how you say it?
Sure. So like I mentioned last time, this has definitely been a very good palate cleanser because I've been playing a lot of hard games recently.
You've been killing a lot of things recently.
Been killing a lot of stuff. So Yoshi's Crafted World, yeah, I mean it's a pretty standard Yoshi game as far as like 2D Yoshi games are concerned. The level design has been really good though. So it's very like 2.5D going into and out of like backgrounds and foregrounds. The world itself like is really interesting, and visually it looks great. Again, it's all crafted, so you can like the walls of buildings are made out of like cardboard, and you can kind of see sometimes you can see like the edges of the cardboard, and like things like that is like really cool and impressive. It's just really fun. There is so as you're going through like the world select and everything, I'm a few bosses in at this point. Probably like a few hours into the game so far. I've just mostly almost exclusively have been playing it on the bus. But the in between levels, each like main world has like a gumball machine, and in the gumball machine there are costumes that are like reflective of the world that you're in. And so the costumes you can wear in each level, and they act as shields basically. And so each sometimes basically you collect coins in the level, and then you can go to the gumball machine and you can spend like 100 coins to get a costume. And the costumes they're basically loot, so they're ranked from like common, uncommon, rare, super rare. And the super rare costumes are obviously much more elaborate. They take a lot more damage for you basically. So like that's just fun. It's fun to like have that loop of like I'm getting coins because I can use them to get new costumes, and the costumes are cute and they're like interesting. One of them is like one of the levels you can like pilot a giant Yoshi mech, and so there's a costume like based on that. There's costumes based on the enemies, so you can kind of like look like the enemy in a level. It's fun. There's like a costume where it's like just a hot tub basically. You're just chilling out in it, so it's fun. The game is just it's a lot of fun and very like cheery and just like it's the best way I can describe it is it's a great palate cleanser.
I almost had some retail therapy, like I think it was like last week, where I was just like, I might just go buy this, like you know what I mean, like I just need something like nice to play that's not gonna destroy me, and I can feel good about solving a level. And to be fair,
like I've heard that some of the later like end game stuff, if you want to 100% it, like gets pretty difficult. But yeah, I mean thus far it's been pretty laid back, and like there's it seems like it's totally a game that's perfect for 100%ing. If you do want a little bit of a challenge, there's a lot of extra collectibles to get. When you go through a level, you can go through like the mirrored version basically, or the backwards version.
Yeah, it like flips around or whatever.
It flips around, and you have to find like the poochies, which are the dogs. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of content there. There's a lot of stuff to do, a lot of stuff to unlock. It's a good time.
How many amiibos have you scanned?
None.
Zero. You have not scanned your Cloud amiibo.
But you know what? No, I don't even have a Cloud amiibo.
Okay.
But you know what? Not only that, but it reviewed pretty well, so it netted you some points.
Oh yeah, I haven't even looked at that.
Yes.
I should look at that.
Yeah.
We need to be betting on some other stuff maybe too.
We need to like someone needs to buy Super Mario Maker 2.
Yeah, somebody.
Speaking of buddies,
the
last game I have. So on a whim, this is a game that I've like seen trailers of, and I've just been mildly curious, and I've always been kind of curious of this genre of games before, and it's something I've never really cracked into. So maybe this will be. I figured this would be a good starting point. So I picked up. It just came out on the Switch recently. It's a remake of a Wii game. There's some changes and adjustments that have been made, but I picked up Chocobo Mystery Dungeon Everybuddy!
Exclamation point.
Exclamation point, and that's
Everybuddy.
Everybuddy. Buddy.
Yeah.
So this is and again, I haven't played any mystery dungeon game before this. I think I've dabbled very, very maybe for 5 or 10 minutes in the Pokemon mystery.
Yeah, I was gonna
dungeon
say,
games.
Is this like the same developer that just makes these games?
No,
or?
I don't know. I read up on it a little bit, but I don't have a full understanding. It sounds to me like mystery dungeon was just kind of this term that they just came up with so that they could make spin-offs of Shiren, Shiren, which is a kind of roguelike kind of game. And so mystery dungeon is kind of this term that they came up so that other developers are making spin-offs of this other game, basically. And it's in the same genre. So there are roguelikes. There's some permanence in it, where as you're going through, your Chocobo is leveling up. You can unlock jobs, and you're leveling up those jobs. So if you do die, there's difficulty modes. There's a normal and a hard. I chose the normal because I'm expecting this game to get difficult, but it's a little less painful on the death side. So if you die, you lose any item that you're carrying that you don't have equip. You lose it. I think on hard you lose a lot more. So for me, if I've died once, or no, I've died twice. Sorry. But when I've died, it's not like you're losing. It's not like you go back to level 1. I'm still at the same level I'm at. I still have the equipped items I have. Any weapons that I've leveled up or beefed up, they're still are where they're at. Any of the jobs I've leveled up, I've retained that stuff. So there's a story here. There is some permanence to it, I guess, compared to other roguelikes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Chocobo Mystery Dungeon. Like I said, remake of a Wii game. There was a card game in the Wii game that they took out of this version, a mini game they had. So this is the story is very bizarre. For one, you play as a Chocobo, and you've got this Indiana Jones explorer buddy with you, and you're going searching for hints about, I think, his grandfather who's vanished or something. And you end up in a town. I'm blanking on the name, but basically within this town, Midgard, yes.
Yeah.
So there's a clock, there's a bell tower, and every time the bell rings, everybody in the town instantly forgets everything that they were just doing, basically. And so it's this town of people who they know who they are, but every day the bell rings and they just forget. So they forget how to do basic things. And so they're kind of blissfully unaware, and they kind of take the approach of ignorance is bliss, where they're we're glad that we forget things. And so you as newcomers are that doesn't seem right. So there's an element of you go into the memories or the mind dungeon of each character. And so basically every character you can walk up to, and if they have there's this weird vortex but puzzle looking thing floating above their head, and so you can dive into their dungeon their memory dungeon, which is 5 floors or whatever, and if you complete it, then you restore the memories of that character, and sometimes you might get a job. So if you go to the priest in the church and you complete his dungeon, you unlock the white mage class or the white mage job. Things like that. But the story in this game, Collin, is pretty early on. This giant egg falls from the sky, and it cracks open, and there's this flying baby.
Flying baby.
Yeah, and the baby's flying around. It dives into people's memories. It's all kinds of. It's super weird and bizarre. But the actual gameplay itself is it's going into dungeons, very roguelike mechanics where you move on a grid, enemies move with you, you're attacking turn based and everything. But it's a lot of fun. I'm having a good time with it. I've beat, I think, the first major boss of the game. Surprise, surprise, there are crystals in the game.
Chronicles.
There's so I think the original name of the Wii game was like Final Fantasy Chronicles Chocobo Dungeon or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're like elemental crystals that you need to gain control of by fighting bosses that are guarding them. So I beat like a flaming phoenix the other night to get like the fire crystal or whatever. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. There's some other there's a lot of things you can do outside of dungeons. So you can do like kind of light farming related activities. You can go fishing. It's fun. Like I'm still in the stage where I'm like unlocking new things to do inside the town. New shops are opening, new mini games are opening, things like that. So I'm having a good time with it. And again, it's one of those games. It's like really easy to just kind of pick up, play for 20 minutes, put down, kind of thing.
Yeah. So like, is it supposed to be in the you said there's chronicle crystals, or but is it supposed to be in the same universe?
I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of Final Fantasy elements to it. A lot of the monsters are like I fought a cactuar, the other day. There are some other there's like goblins and stuff that have kind of a more unique design, but I've definitely seen some Final Fantasy staples as far as monster types. Obviously the jobs. So right now I have the knight job, which is like the first one you get. I have the white mage job, and then I have the thief job, which was actually kind of cool. So in the dungeons, there are traps, but then there's also like a green sphere or green thing that you can walk onto, and you get transported into another room. And it's kind of a toss-up. You either get transported into a room with like a really difficult enemy, or you get transported into a shop room. And when you get transported to the shop, you can actually run up, you can steal the bag that has the thief job in it. And when you do that, it angers the shopkeeper, but if you're able to escape that room, you get to keep the job. So when you walk into a dungeon, at the very beginning of the dungeon, you can choose what job you want to equip. You can't switch those out on the fly, but obviously each job has its own unique abilities. So white mage, you can heal, you can cast protect, cast shield on yourself. Knight has more, offensive abilities. They all have their own unique stats. I haven't played as thief yet, but that seems pretty self-explanatory as to the kinds of things you'd be able to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun. It seems like there's a lot of jobs. As you're defeating enemies, you get buddy points. So let's say you fight and you defeat 10 goblins, you'll eventually be able to unlock the goblin as a buddy. So at the beginning of a dungeon, you get to choose what buddy you want to bring along with you to fight alongside you.
Okay. So
it seems like some of the the Phoenix I just fought, it actually sounds like I might be able to eventually bring him alongside me, maybe later in the game. So it's cool. Yeah, there's a lot of upgrading gear, upgrading stats, things like that. But it's a fun time.
So, are you interested in the Crystal Chronicles remaster thing they're bringing out?
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay. I didn't know if you ever played that on GameCube.
I have not. This was more. I've always been interested in the mystery dungeon stuff. Man, if they brought a Pokemon mystery dungeon to Switch, I'd be all over it. Now that I've played this and kind of gotten into it and got into the swing of things, it's really interesting. Yeah, it's cool.
Okay, cool.
Also, it sounds like this is probably a pretty long game, so I imagine I'll be playing this for a while too.
And you're playing this one on Switch also, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you could just get some trophies. So then it actually also makes
it is on
question.
PS4
Are you gonna
as
re-download?
Well,
Yeah, I thought it was. Are you gonna re-download Final Fantasy VII on Nintendo Switch?
Probably not. No.
Or play Final Fantasy 9 or 10
the
and 12
the remake's coming out pretty soon, so I won't. I think I'll wait.
Yeah, that's also this month, I think.
Yeah. This week.
Yeah, this week. Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Final Fantasy 9's tempting because I never finished it. But I don't know. There's so much else to be playing.
Yep.
So I don't know. I've got quite the backlog, and I still want to get back to Crosscode, which I haven't played in a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my lot though. Oh, and I played Warframe last night, but that's
Nobody plays Warframe. More people play Baba Is You than they play Warframe, I think.
Oh, if only. If only.
Yeah. Oh, there's people that play Warframe. Oh, okay. I don't know. I tried Warframe.
I think what it did is I watched, I recently watched, like, the No Clip documentary on Warframe.
I had seen that, yeah.
And I was like, I've heard this has changed a lot, and it just got me interested in it again, so I don't know how much I'll play of it, but I've just been curious to kind of dive back in and see what it's all about.
Yeah. Because like they have like their own like conference, like con, like every year.
Yeah, Warframe Con or TennoCon.
TennoCon, yeah, I think is what its name is. And I was interested. I think I downloaded Warframe on PS4 when it first launched or whatever, because it was very early in the PS4 and I didn't really care whatever. I actually ended up trying to re-download it a while, maybe like 6 to 8 months ago, whatever. And I played like the first like opening mission, and then again, like it was just like, here's all this stuff, and I'm just like, I ain't got time for this.
Yeah, when I booted it up last night, it was like way back when it first came out. I think I played with Chris and maybe Eric, I don't remember, or maybe Brad, I don't remember specifically what the combination was, but we had played at least a few missions together, and because it's all like tied to their servers, like when I booted it up, it was like, you're going to play a quick tutorial so you can learn some of the new mechanics. But then you'll jump back into your old character. And so I jumped back in. I was like level 4 a few missions in. I'm like,
Yeah. It looked great, from when I played, but yeah. So I got a couple things. So I was wanting to talk about this maybe like a long time ago, and then I forgot. I'm just calling Collin's Xbox 360 Adventures, I guess. So Black Friday last year, I got basically a 360 for free, basically, from GameStop. It was like $70, but then a $70 rebate or whatever. It worked out pretty well. So, of course, I go and buy like Gears 1 and 2 for like 99 cents a piece at GameStop, stuff like that. So I guess we'll start at way back in 2005, I guess one I was just going to talk about real quick. Perfect Dark Zero I played. And so this was a launch game for 360. It just feels so like crazy that like this game came out like a year after like Resident Evil 4 and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like or even like the same year as Resident Evil 4 or whatnot. And it's like so long ago. It's very average. Again, not gonna say much about it. It's a decent shooter. It runs pretty slow. I do like when you play like multiplayer against the bots. All of the characters are bot dash and then like another rare like character name, like bot like Jinjo and like bot Banjo and like bot Fulgore, like from Killer Instinct. And it's like really kind of cool stuff, like bot Conqueror and stuff like that.
I like that stuff.
Yeah, but it's pretty short. It has like these like Samsung product placements, so like the like keypad or whatever that you use is like got the Samsung product placement on it. It's just such a weird game, and I liked Perfect Dark and like especially like GoldenEye and other Rare games from back in the day. So I definitely wanted to play Perfect Dark Zero just to see what it was, and it's like Zero, I guess it's a prequel game, and it really just shows how like Joanna Dark gets to the corporation she's at in the original game. But other than that, it's nothing remarkable. Brings us to 2006. I played the original Gears of War, which it's fine. It's not. It really like. I think I may mention to you in like a message or something that like playing it now, it's like very like not special at all. But like for 2006, like I bet this was incredible. And like definitely like looking back at it, and like you look at the graphics now and you're like, yeah, like this doesn't look very good, but like if you actually match that up to like Resistance Fall of Man that came out like the same time the PS3 launch, I'm like, this game looks a lot better than like Resistance Fall of Man.
Yeah, that game was rough.
Yeah, and it's it's very dark, and it almost feels like Gears 1 is more of like a horror game at times. It's kind of
Yeah,
like
I
a
can get
horror
that.
shooter.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's definitely, and I think that's kind of what they do with the Unreal Engine to kind of make things look a little better. Is, you know, they kind of have a lot of dark colors, that's Gears of War. I feel like kind of started all the grays and all that kind of stuff. You know, like where
Oh, for
everything
sure. It
was
was definitely the beginning of like the brown and gray and
yeah, and getting on to even this game and the next game as well, like Gears of War 2. It just eventually it starts like I really am just tired of looking at
But
these
I'll
things.
say, like, I'm not sure when it's supposed to be coming out, but and I've never played any Gears game before, but now that I have like an Xbox One, um, I'm kind of interested in the new Gears game
Yeah,
that's coming out.
Gears 5 is probably this year, I would assume.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think this is the first official one they've dropped the of War. So it's just officially
it's just Gears 5.
Yeah, so they originally showed off Gears
new playable
4.
character and
Well, so I think Gears of War 4 had a new playable character
sure.
as well.
Yeah.
I think Marcus Phoenix was in it, but I think you actually might play as his son or something like that, of course. But yeah, so like they originally announced Gears 4 as just it just said Gears 4, but ended up being Gears of War on the end.
I need
of the
to
day, but...
like 4 is on Game Pass, and so I need to like I think I have it downloaded, but I do want to like give that a try too and just see how it is or see what I think of it.
Yeah, but Gears of War 1, just nothing too special. It was a decently long game. It's just very clunky. There's some spots that are just like really kind of infuriating, and I was even playing on like the easy difficulty. The chainsaw, I don't feel like, that's like a big part of the game, and I feel like it just feels like, why would I run out in the middle of a battlefield to try and chainsaw some guy when everybody else is just going to shoot at me while I'm chainsawing this guy? It didn't work very well, I didn't think. But like it's definitely sets up the story, kind of the locusts and E-Day, like Emergence Day, like when the locusts came up. Writing is, very dull. It's very bro shootery. Yeah, that's pretty much what I had on that one. But so now moving to 2007, I have completed Halo 3.
Do you have a game for each year?
I sure do.
Oh man, this is great.
So yeah, I played a little bit of them out of order, but definitely I've got some games for each year. So going on to 2007, that is of course when Halo 3 came out. That was actually the first one I ended up playing, getting the 360. It's not great. I am personally not a fan. I actually really kind of like the Halo games. Probably won't talk about it today maybe, but like I love Halo Reach. Came out in 2010. I think it's fantastic. I also think ODST is also fantastic. But definitely like Halo 2 and Halo 3 were probably like the biggest Halo ever was. And sure. I just don't really care for those games. I just feel like either just be the mechanics, especially with Halo 3, they tried to push the deployables, which was like these little shields and health drains and health boosters and mines and stuff that you'd throw down. I think that's just super clunky. I just feel like it doesn't work very well. A lot of the weapons that were really kind of famous with Halo weren't necessarily represented very well. Like the Halo 1 pistol was like a huge thing. Like that's one of like the most overpowered weapons in Halo, in almost like video game history, is the Halo 1 pistol. And like you could zoom in with the pistol as well, so like almost like use it as a sniper. But then like by the time like Halo 3 and maybe even 2 was out, like they completely took that away. And just the Magnum pistol is just absolutely terrible. I've never been a big fan of the battle rifle. Some of just driving, like either just the Warthog or the Scorpion, I just feel like isn't very fun in that game. I don't really like fighting the Flood, which is like a big part of Halo 2 and 3.
Right.
I don't know. I would say like Halo 2 and 3 are probably some of my least favorite Halos, especially going back to it today, kind of around the time where things started to be like motion captured and stuff like that. I feel like Halo 3 didn't really have the motion capture kind of cinematics that other games did. And I even definitely think about Resistance Fall of Man to Resistance 2, because like Resistance Fall of Man was like very stiff animations of like Nathan Hale walking and stuff, but then for Resistance 2 they actually did motion capture, and it just looks so much better. And yeah, and I knew specifically like when Master Chief Collection came out, the big part was like, oh, okay, like we're retouching up Halo 2 and doing the Halo 2 anniversary kind of thing like we did with the original. And then like Halo 3 was just kind of there, like it still didn't look very good, and it still looks pretty rough. But yeah, I mean, just not much else to say on Halo 3. It was fine. I mean, it's kind of an iconic game in the end. Which leads me probably to the last one I'll talk about today, 2008.
What a year.
Yeah, the year... This might be like the worst year of that generation, maybe. like there was a lot of games that came out in 2008 that I did not care about. I mean, I think Dead Space was that year.
The year of Luigi.
2008 was the year of Luigi? No.
They all are.
No, they all are. Okay. So Gears of War 2 came out that year. That fall was the fall 360 game. Definitely starts to include a little bit brighter colors than the original Gears of War. It's still very much the same game. They improve a little bit the active reload system, which I've never really been a fan of, because as somebody who's just getting into the game and playing it, you know, I'm constantly taking my eyes off the action to like press the reload at the right time. Like if you know that kind of mechanic.
Yeah. I think Enter the Gungeon has active reload. I think
it does. Speaking of which, that final DLC actually just was coming out for it.
Yeah, I've been wanting to try. I've been thinking about getting back into it. I'm not
that's
sure.
That's another game that I've re-downloaded.
I'm undecided, but I would. Well, now it seems like a great time to get back into it.
Yeah, you get it on Switch too. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
But so the thing is, like, if you play the Gears games for a long time, like, I think you can absolutely know the timing when to do that active reload. Like, you don't even have to look at it. Like, you just know, like, just the time wise. But as somebody who's just picking it up and just playing through the campaign, isn't really going to touch it anything after that, I'm constantly like kind of looking away to like make sure I get it right and whatnot. A lot of the exact same weapons from the first game as well. The biggest one being like people really enjoy was like the Hammer of Dawn shows up at the very end of the game. That's like the satellite kind of thing where like you point a laser at an enemy and then this like satellite thing comes down and starts destroying them. But it continues the main story. They introduce some new characters, but really, you know, Gears of War 1 ended up being, okay, some stuff's happening, but then Marcus, Dom, Cole, and Bear just band together and fight and win the day.
Yep.
And then so like that's essentially just like what happens in this game, like end of chapter 3, beginning of chapter 4 kind of area. Like, oh, it's just these same 4 guys again going to save the world. Has a very anticlimactic ending. I almost would say this is like one of the worst endings maybe to a game.
Okay.
So really the whole like last chapter, like chapter 5, it's just like a vehicle section, and it's just like an on rails thing, and then you basically just fly around and point the Hammer of Hammer of Dawn at like this final enemy, and you just hold the right trigger and then it's over. Very, very not great. And like a lot of it was on rails to begin with. You're just moving like the right analog stick to aim and shoot at things. So yeah, there's a lot of newer situations. There's a part where in like chapter 3 you go to this old COG base, which is like that's like what Marcus and his group, like they're part of the COG.
Yeah.
And you end up like finding this like AI that is very like it's very much the Captain America Winter Soldier, the guy who upload the Nazi scientist or Hydra scientist that uploads his personality into the computer. You remember that part at all? It's been a while since that movie's been
too
out.
long.
Yeah, there's the Nazi Hydra scientist that was in Captain America First Avenger, and then by the time it's like current day, he's like uploaded his consciousness to like a computer, and that's kind of like who you're facing in like that entire chapter, which is kind of neat. Again, the other thing I'll also say is that it has a lot of the kind of bro dude dialogue again.
Yeah.
But there are certain parts of that game that kind of try to, do emotional things. And it's like, that was really well written and like very well voice acted.
Cool.
There was like a couple of parts where like it's really kind of like some sad stuff that happens. It's like really just kind of like, wow, like, and it's really weird to like feel like you care about these characters when like it's not really that much of a compelling story, and they're like, oh yeah, let's go kill some whatever. Yeah. And it's just like, for some reason, those few scenes in that game, I'm like, that was like really well done. But then kind of right after that, it's kind of right back to the whoa, yeah, baby. Like it's like kind of like whatever.
It's trying though.
Yeah. But that's again mostly other than like a couple new locations. A lot of the same kind of interiors all look the same. It's kind of still the same kind of clunky gameplay that I'm not huge into. But I kind of was also thinking about this. There were two, like, I would say great looking games that came out in 2008. One being Metal Gear Solid 4, the other one being Gears of War 2. Because I remember seeing Gears of War 2 like in trailers and stuff back then. Be like, this looks incredible and whatnot. But as someone who recently just played Metal Gear Solid 4, that came out like a few months before this game, Metal Gear Solid 4 just absolutely looks incredible still.
Yeah.
Like going and watching Metal Gear Solid 4, it still looks great.
I remember that game. Yeah, looking unbelievable.
Yeah, and it still looks great. And then even looking now at Gears of War 2, it's like, yeah, like this isn't great. But
that was 2008. Was that Dead Space and Mirror's Edge as well?
Dead Space, Mirror's Edge. That was 2008. I'm pretty sure. Dead Space, Mirror's Edge. Fallout 3 was also 2008, I believe.
Is that BioShock? Or was that
BioShock?
2007?
That was 07.
Okay.
07 was the big year. We had like Portal, BioShock, Assassin's Creed, Mass Effect, all of those kind of Call of Duty 4, Halo 3.
By the way,
all of those.
Hype check. Assassin's Creed Vikings.
I was wondering about that. I ended up just actually watching that today, like the little tease. I don't know. I'll allow it, I guess.
Okay.
It's not going to be out till like 2020.
Yeah.
Because I assume Watch Dogs 3 is this year.
That'll be cool though. If it's 2020, like then do we expect it to be a launch title for like next gen stuff?
Oh yeah, are they gonna black flag it basically?
Yeah, like that. I mean, that could potentially be like a pretty good launch title to have.
Yeah, that could.
Especially in the direction the series has been moving. Like it's been getting, I think, a lot better.
Yeah, and I still need to catch up. I really do want to catch up on some Assassin's Creed games. Because like I've actually played all of the mainline ones, including Rogue. I played Unity about a year ago, finally. And the only one I need to get onto next is Syndicate. So
yeah, Syndicate's my favorite.
Yeah, I just gotta, and that's really kind of the last like original Assassin's Creed kind of style, because then they start getting into the action RPGs with Origins and stuff like that.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited, kinda. I mean, just put it on the backlog. You know, gotta play when I get to it, I guess.
I mean, I guess they gotta think like it leaks anyways, so why not just tease it ourselves?
Yeah, pretty much. And like they talked about, of course, the game that Ubisoft was teasing in Watch Dogs 2, that you could like hack into Ubisoft San Francisco's offices. I guess that game ended up getting canceled.
Well, apparently it's still around, just in a different form. I was like reading an article about it a few nights ago. Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So interesting, but I don't know. So anyways,
so that pretty much brings us up to where I'm at now.
You'll be regaling us with tales of like the next few years each podcast, right?
Yeah, so the next 3 games probably should be all Halo games, at least 2 of them. Of course, because I thought about jumping immediately to Gears of War 3, but that didn't come out till 2011.
So we got to work your way up to it.
Yeah, I always remember stuff about Gears of War 3, though. I think Gears of War 3...
The question is, when did Blue Dragon come out? What year can we slot that in?
That might be like 07, 08.
That might be in 07,
but
yeah.
I probably... Like, I have, like, Lost Odyssey downloaded, like, when it was, like, free on Xbox at one point. I'm like, I guess I'll just go play that.
All right, so let's talk about InnerSpace.
Yeah, so this is a game that came out, I think, at the beginning of last year, and I want to say we originally got a code for it.
I remember that you and I talked about it on a Colin and Curtis a long time
Okay.
ago. Because I remember I Googled it right before recording. Because I was like, this name sounds familiar. And as soon as I saw a screenshot, I was like, yes, yep, got it.
So I think it was like had a little bit of a Kickstarter or something, because like when I got to the credits, it said something about our backers or whatnot. But yeah, so I think we ended up getting a code that we never ended up using, I think, for this game.
Great.
So I ended up during one of the like humble indie PlayStation bundles or something like that. I just paid $1, and this was one of like the 3 games at the $1 tier for humble. So I've had this downloaded for a little bit. I just, eventually was gonna press X and start it. Like I also have like Oxenfree like still on my console. I haven't played.
Oh
like,
man.
Maybe one day I'll just get a like inkling to be like, I'm gonna go play Oxenfree, and then I'll actually play it. I know it's like too many games, man. I know I need to. Every once in a while, I've been doing good with getting through some backlog stuff here and there. But anyways, so InnerSpace is, really I can't even really tell you the plot in the end.
Great.
So basically it's kind of one of like almost kind of an artsy experience kind of game, games that I love. Like when I say artsy, it almost sounds like it's degrading, but it's not. Like I love those kind of games. So you're kind of on this world dimension universe that's all of these ancient beings used to live, and they're all dead, and there's like one left, and like it's this thing called the archaeologist, I believe, and it brings back to life this drone, and that's like you're playing as the drone, and either I think they're the archaeologist and you're the cartographer, or it's the other way around. I already forgot. But it's kind of one of those things where it's like the text dialogue just keeps going and going and going, and it just does not end. Like, this is not why I'm playing this game. I just kind of want to be zoned out playing this. But so you're going around, I think it ends up being about 4. So you have like one main world where you're collecting different artifacts and basically trying to piece together like what happened to like this civilization, and then like try and compile it to be like, hey, this is what this society's like legacy is going to be, kind of thing. I almost kind of equated it to Soma a little bit, like the end where like little minor swears, like it has to do with the satellite, and they're trying to upload like the human history to the satellite to be like, that's the legacy that humans are gonna have. You remember anything about that, like with Soma? That's kind of how I felt about it. It's like you're trying to piece together for like when somebody else down the road finds this, like they'll know what this civilization was about. So it's really kind of you really kind of end up playing like in a sphere kind of thing. So
and
it's really
it's like a little plane looking thing that you're flying around.
Yeah, it's a little plane. And it is kind of like a flying game. It's got, your kind of ups and downs and, speed boosts. Like it's a flying game, I guess. It's kind of like inverted or however you want to do it. But yeah, essentially you're just flying around. You're meeting these kind of like spirits of these other beings that used to be there, and like some of them are like some kind of fish, and some's like some kind of whale or whatever the heck, and like then they kind of speak to you and say like, hey, this is what this place was about, whatnot. I thought it was going to do a thing where it's like, oh, it's actually the Earth like 500 years later, but no, it's I don't think it's that kind of thing. But yeah,
and then you get to like to the like the credits, and InnerSpace becomes in-ear space. N-I-E-R, yeah.
In-ear space?
Yoko Taro is the final boss.
Oh, it's not like in an in-ear space?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Yeah, in-ear space, yeah.
So you mentioned getting to the credits about, like, is this like a shorter, or...
So you can probably, if you kind of straight line it and actually know what you're doing, you can probably beat it in probably 3 hours, maybe, like even like using a guide.
Okay.
It was tough for me. It took me probably about like actually 5 or 6, Mostly because there's a lot of sections where you're like, I literally do not know what to do right now.
Okay.
You get lost and turned around pretty easily. So I would say, yeah, like a majority of my time was like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I actually had to look it up a couple times.
Would you consider it like a puzzle game, or is it more of a problem with the game itself that you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing? What
I would say it's a problem with the game itself, because it's one of those. So here's the best way I can actually describe it. So imagine flour, and you fly around, you touch all of the like red flowers in an area, then the camera zooms out and it like pans
something
to like
happens
and something happens, and then it like pans to the next area and the new flowers pop up, which kind of is like, oh, okay, I need to go here now.
Right.
InnerSpace does that kind of thing, but then it has the thing happen and then nothing else.
Okay.
Like, it's like, okay, now where am I supposed to go now? And you're like, am I done here? Like, am I supposed to go talk like to the cartographer guy again, or is there something else I needed to fly into? It doesn't do a very good job of telling you that, and especially how the world is set up and how many structures and little things there are. There's these like strings that you have to cut to like reveal new passageways and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes like these strings are so small that you can't even see them sometimes. Like, and if you weren't flying on this left side of this rock at like this angle, you know, like you're not going to see that at all. And that can be pretty frustrating again, because I had to look it up. I was like, I literally have no idea what to do. Like, even the final section of the game, I was just like, I have no idea what to do. And especially in the last area, I was very much ready to be done with it. That's kind of like, and it was like, okay, like, oh, I'm doing this. Like, oh, I bet this is the end. And then it's like, oh, nope, now something else happens. And you just basically do that like 6 times in a row, and you think it's the end, and then it still isn't. But I ended up getting the platinum trophy.
Nice.
You have to use a little bit of a guide. It can be, it's really just disorienting, and I can't imagine something like this in VR. Because it's not.
Yeah, I'm
very
watching
much...
like a video of it now, and I think I can get where you're saying, like, disorienting.
Yeah,
it's almost
like,
impossible to feel like what is up and what is down.
Exactly. It doesn't feel like a box. It's more like a circle. It's more like you're flying in a sphere.
Yeah.
And like everything just kind of rides up on each other. And especially with some of the bigger areas, there isn't really enough to distinguish like, oh, okay, I'm at this part of the area, or I'm at this part of the map. So even like when you're trying to use a guide to get some of these things, you're like, I have absolutely no idea where this person is, because not only is it like a box and like, okay, clearly this is up and this is down. I mean, you can just hold the left analog stick and completely turn the world upside down, and that looks the same way. Like, you know, it looks also up. So, I mean, I would enjoyed it. I would have enjoyed it more if it was probably even like 2 hours. Pretty straightforward. Like, okay, this is what you're doing. Do that. It was.
Do you feel like you were satisfied, like, story-wise, with like the story it was telling, or?
I think the story was a nice premise. There's a lot of, I almost felt like unneeded dialogue a little bit, and maybe that's my expectations where the game was a little off. Like, I guess I wasn't going in expecting that much story.
I mean, like,
even
visually it looks really nice, I think.
It does kind of,
it's very colorful.
It does kind of run together in the end, I think, though.
Okay.
With some of the different areas. A lot of the structures kind of look the same. It's just a different shade of color, I guess.
That was one thing I forgot to mention with DMC5, is it's like, I've seen a lot of complaints of people saying that they wish the later areas would have differentiated themselves a little bit more. It definitely feels like once you hit maybe like even 40% of the way through the game, the vast majority of the areas they're running through are basically the same. Not like they're not the same areas, but they look the same. Right. Or they have a similar aesthetic, and it's like, you definitely feel like there's not a... That's maybe the one thing about, like, that game is fantastic. The one thing about it, though, is it's like the actual visual variety of different areas, like, is next to none. Like, it's that could have used some work.
Yeah. But there's like different colors you can do for your ship. There's different other kind of like customization things. There's different what they call frames, like different planes, basically.
Yeah.
There's like kind of a drifting thing, and so once I unlocked one specific one that literally allowed you to stop on a dime and reorient yourself, that's the one I basically used. Because using anything other than that one, I feel like is just absolutely infuriating, especially with like the small areas you have to fly through, and how kind of hard it is to kind of turn your ship plane thing at times.
Right.
But yeah, I enjoyed it for a little bit, and then eventually it was just like, okay, I'm ready to be done with this. I ended up getting the platinum trophy, which doesn't require a ton. The only thing is like, okay, well, obviously I'm missing this one really obscure thing that I'm gonna have to be flying around this thing forever and ever and ever, and it's maybe in an area that I didn't know existed because I can't even see it. And other than that, I wasn't honestly too impressed. I think the game is also on Xbox One, PC, and Switch, I believe, and I ended up like seeing somebody's like Switch review of it, and I guess it doesn't run great on Switch.
Oh.
So that's kind of sad. Maybe they patched it and stuff. I don't know. But yeah, I mean that's InnerSpace. It was just kind of it was just something a little different, I guess, that I wanted to try out. But I think it's definitely kind of a forgettable game. It's neat for maybe an hour, but then after that, it's like, okay, I'm done with this.
All right.
But, yeah.
Well, Collin, it's been a pleasure as always.
It has. It's these weeks have been flying by. Like it feels like we recorded last week, but it's actually been 2 weeks.
It's been 2 weeks. Hard to believe, but that's been a lot of Sekiro in between.
Yeah. So is this just the Fortnite podcast? Can we just name it that then?
Oh man,
or
that's how we get all the hits.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking. Like
the Fortnite cast with Collin and Curtis.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really
about
funny.
The Borderlands 3 announcement. It's welcome to the Fortnite cast. This game is Bobo Is You. This game, I don't know. Anyways,
Baba Is You is a battle royale puzzle game.
You know, that was another thing, actually, going back to Borderlands 3, that they kept saying, like, oh, Borderlands 3, like, it's not a Battle Royale game. I was like, was anybody expecting it to be a Battle Royale game?
I mean, to be fair, like, it feels like a lot of games are adding it. So I think it was kind of, like, interesting that they preemptively came out and said, nope, not in this one.
Yeah, I guess I feel like when you have other games, I'm like, oh, that could have, like, the new Battlefield or, like, a new Call of Duty could have, or, like, The Division or something could have a Battle Royale. I never once thought of like, oh yeah, clearly Borderlands 3.
Yeah, I don't know.
100 Randy Pitchfords drop onto Pandora.
Oh God, that sounds like the worst. Well, anyways, it's been fun.
It has been.
Thanks everybody for listening. If you did,
yeah, appreciate you.
So we'll be back in 2 weeks. What is 2 weeks from now?
21st.
21st. So. So Days Gone still won't be out at that point.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think what else. I think Cuphead will be out by that point, though.
I think it will. That'll be fun.
I think that's probably gonna be my next thing for the Switch.
I also have the Nintendo Switch Online now due to the Twitch Prime thing.
Nice. I've been needing to do that, and I've been thinking about just getting a year and like I want to play Tetris 99.
Yeah, I played a little bit. It's actually kind of fun.
Yeah. So maybe we'll talk about it next week. But
yeah, for sure.
I think that's gonna do it for us. So thanks for listening as always.
Yeah. And
in Collin, I will see you in a fortnight.
I will see you on the Battle Royale grounds, Curtis. Let's do a llama dance.
Yoshi!